What's going on? Vincent Rapisardi, BigBlueUnbiased.com. I have not done a YouTube video in like a month, so I wanted to get back on. I wanted to talk about Nate Solder. So yesterday I saw a quote from former Giants offensive lineman Shaun O'Hara. It was basically a defense of Nate Solder. He was defending him. He was sticking up for Nate Solder, and I really don't see too many do that. So I read the quote, and he said this. He's a damn good left tackle, talking about Nate Solder. You show me a left tackle who had a good year with a rookie quarterback. That doesn't happen. Now look, Shaun O'Hara is not the most unbiased source out there. He obviously has a pro-Giants agenda. We saw that with the end of Eli Manning's career. O'Hara stuck up for Eli time and time again because they were teammates back in the day. So I understand that you could probably say, well, O'Hara just is pro-Giants. Well, fair enough. But at the same time, his quote does have some merit, because if you look at the analytics, and this is something I've done in a previous video, I went through every Nate Solder sack that he gave up last year. He gave up a lot of sacks, a lot of videos I had to watch. But at the end of the day, the average time to throw on those sacks was 3.2 seconds. The league average time to throw is 2.5 seconds. So very well could be that Nate Solder allowed a lot of sacks and a lot of pressures because Daniel Jones had pocket awareness issues. He was a rookie quarterback. Now, this doesn't mean, Daniel Jones can't be a franchise quarterback, because I know people are going to take that away from this video or from my tweets because they'll be like, oh, you're just bashing Jones. I'm not bashing him. He's a rookie quarterback and he made mistakes. He showed promise. He showed potential. I've done videos on that too, but at the same time, he wasn't perfect. He made his mistakes. He fumbled a lot. 10 strip sack fumbles, 16 lost fumbles, but he was a rookie quarterback. At the same time, when judging a player like Solder, you have to realize he was protecting a rookie quarterback who makes a lot of mistakes, and maybe doesn't progress through his reads very quickly, who has pocket awareness issues and overall game management issues. The Arizona game last year was the perfect example where the Giants allowed 8 sacks. But if you go through those sacks, you can see many of them were on Daniel Jones, just holding onto the football way too long. So people need to understand that, because when it comes to pass block win rate, which is an offensive tackle, offensive lineman holding a block for at least 2.5 seconds, Nate Solder was league average. He was actually the same as Tyron Smith and Jason Peters. So he was able to hold his block league average. He was a decent average left tackle, which that's kind of who he is. He's an average to above average left tackle. If you go back to 2018 with a very immobile Eli Manning, Eli Manning is as mobile as this chair that I'm sitting in. Okay? Still, he was one of 9 left tackles that allowed a pressure rate no greater than 5%. He performed above average. He performed fairly well at his position in 2018. Now, people are not going to say that because, Nate Solder was signed to be the next Walter Jones, which, that's not fair. He wasn't that good of a player, Nate Solder. I don't think any realistic person was expecting Nate Solder to be Walter Jones or Joe Thomas or Jonathan Ogden. He was an average to above average player. He got paid a lot of money because he was a free agent. Okay, when you're a free agent, you get paid a little bit more money because teams need to go out and they need to fix, holes on their roster, which is what the Giants had to do. It's just funny seeing people whine and complain at this point in the year, or at this point in Nate Solder's Giants career. Oh, they shouldn't have signed him. What a terrible contract. Why would you do that? Would you have rather had Eric Flowers enter the 2018 season as the starting left tackle? Forget it. You complain about Nate Solder. Eric Flowers is the left tackle for the 4th straight year back in 2018? That would have been a disaster. Dave Gettleman, fans would have wanted him fired before they played a game in 2018 if Eric Flowers was still the left tackle at that point. So don't give me this, Monday morning quarterback. They should have never signed him. There wasn't this, this crazy good left tackle prospect in the draft in 2018. It's not like they passed on someone who everyone thought was going to be a home run left tackle, franchise left tackle. Dave Gettleman had to do what he had to do. He had to go out and he had to protect a mobile quarterback. Even so, even if they drafted a quarterback in the first round, you need someone to protect him, right? Eric Flowers certainly wasn't going to be that guy. So the Monday morning quarterback thing on Nate Solder, it gets old after a while. I'm not sitting here saying Nate Solder's great. He's an average to maybe slightly above average left tackle. And he's good enough to hold down the fort until Andrew Thomas is the everyday left tackle at some point in his Giants career, which I think should be maybe midseason this year or next year. I think that out of the gate, Nate Solder should be the starting left tackle, because I don't think you need to force Andrew Thomas to play left tackle day one. I don't think it makes any sense. I think you wait, you see when he's ready. If it's midseason, slide him over. If it's next year, you bring him over in left tackle next year. Nate Solder is likely going to get released after the season. And they're going to save around $14 million in cap space. Still, what is your complaint, right? It's not like Nate Solder signed a 7-year contract and the Giants are locked into it for another 3 years. He's probably going to get released after this year. They're going to save a bunch of cap space and they're going to move on. And you're going to have a serviceable offensive tackle, likely left tackle, starting left tackle, so that your rookie, likely right tackle, Andrew Thomas, can kind of get his feet wet, get used to the NFL, and then you slide him over, like I said, maybe midway this year or maybe into 2021. You make him your starting left tackle. So the Monday morning quarterback thing with Nate Solder, I don't get the complaining and the constant whining. Nate Solder is not the difference between the Giants winning 4 games or winning 10 games. Okay, it's not like if Nate Solder was an all-pro, the Giants would be in the playoffs. They won 4 games last year and 5 games the year before. They were not anywhere close to being a legitimate playoff team. Now, that doesn't excuse like a bad contract, but I don't really think Nate Solder's contract was bad. I think it's a C+, maybe B-, probably more C+. Okay, you tried to find a left tackle. He wasn't Joe Thomas. He wasn't Jonathan Ogden, but he was serviceable, average to maybe slightly above average. You drafted Andrew Thomas 4th overall. He is going to be viewed as the left tackle of the future, and you move forward. And that's it. Now, what I also find interesting is a guy like Ronnie Stanley. So this is why sometimes pressures and sacks can be a little bit misleading. Not all the time. I'm not saying it doesn't mean you're not a good player, but it can be misleading at times. So Ronnie Stanley, the offensive tackle for the Baltimore Ravens, he registered the fewest amount of pressures allowed among any offensive lineman that Pro Football Focus has ever recorded since 2006. And you would say, wow, that's amazing. And yeah, it's really good. Good for him. He's a good player. But at the same time, the Baltimore Ravens were dead last in passing attempts. So obviously they dropped back to pass fewer times than any other NFL team, which, is going to help you to not allow as many sacks or pressures. They also have arguably, or I don't even think it's an argument, they have the most mobile quarterback in the NFL. The best running quarterback in the NFL. That also helps an offensive line too, right? They also ran the most RPO plays in the NFL. So when you run an RPO play, right, you freeze a defense because they don't know if it's a run or a pass. So again, I'm not saying Ronnie Stanley's not a good player. He is. But context, right? Let's add context. Let's do the same with a player like Nate Solder. So that's all I got. Vincent Rapsardi, BigBlueUnbiased.com. Thank you for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at Vince Rapsardi. YouTube, I have a podcast, the Big Blue Unbiased Podcast, my website, all those things. So thanks again for watching. Vincent Rapsardi, BigBlueUnbiased.com.